Hello, I'm Caroline Marshall, and welcome to Bump to Business Owner, the podcast speaking to mums in business, you. I'll be in conversation with some of the most inspiring women and mothers in enterprise about their journey, how they created their successful businesses alongside raising their children, and what that looks like in work and family life. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Bump to Business Owner. I am your host, Caroline Marshall, and today I am welcoming Gemma Bray. Gemma is a Sunday Times bestselling author, creator of the Organised Mum method, and of course, mother. As an overwhelmed new mother, Gemma found her anxiety manifesting in hours of cleaning each day. This constant battle for control amidst the chaos of family life led to a breakthrough moment. Things just couldn't go on this way. Gemma, sitting at the kitchen table, she'd already cleaned twice that morning, mapped out each and every household task, and devised a plan that would keep her home organised in just 30 minutes each day. No more never-ending to-do lists, no more panic at the sound of an unexpected doorbell, and no more weekend cleaning whatsoever. The Organised Mum method is beautifully simple. With a best-selling app and best-selling books to her name, Gemma, also known as the Organised Mum, is making a real difference to the lives of parents around the world, freeing you from the overwhelm, one load of washing a sticky placemat at a time. Gemma, wow, what an intro. I also can't believe the irony about an unexpected doorbell was in that bio there, and my doorbell went off.
I was just listening to that and I was like, oh my God, you made me sound really impressive.
You are impressive. I'm so excited to have you on.
Just really cheered me up.
I know, that's it. That's all these podcasts are for, just to like lift us up and give us a boost to remember what we have achieved. So, and I can't wait to delve into this, because even me, like, I'm not, my husband will tell you, I'm not the biggest clean freak. I do have my things, but I hugely relate to the anxiety side part of it. And I definitely, it manifested in other ways, like when people were buying loads of stuff for the boys, especially in COVID, and it would just give me real like planet anxiety, you know? So I think it's a real important thing to touch on about motherhood, that I think this is way more common than is spoken about in some form. But before we go into that, I want to hear about you and what you were doing before you became the Organised Mum.
So I was actually an antenatal teacher and a doula for ages, for years, and it is still a real passion of mine. I'm not actively doulaing at the moment. But what happened was I became pregnant with my third baby, and I couldn't be on call 24 hours a day, you know, and I was just like, I can't be a doula. So I put my doula bag down, had a baby, and I was like, all right, what else can I do? And that's similar, that is helping women predominantly, and sort of leans into that aspect of my personality where I want to try and help people essentially. And it was one New Year's Eve when my eldest child, who was the one who inspired the Organised Mum method in the first place, he was like, why, we were doing like dares, and he was like, for next year I dare you to set up an Instagram page like and talk about the cleaning that you do. And I was like, okay, I'll take you up on the dare. But in my head, I was like, this is going nowhere. It's going to completely fizzle out. I had no experience. Like I didn't know what I was doing. And then it just didn't fizzle out. So I'm just still here. I'm just still like showing up every day, just like, okay, still making it work somehow.
I love that. What a visionary your son is. Like, how many boys would say to their mum, go on Instagram? Normally like, no, mum, get off it.
The strange thing like was at the time, it was all very much aesthetically perfect Instagram of old. So it was like avocado toast. Nobody was talking about cleaning. This was before the big wave of like cleaning, and
the realities of cleaning, not just the perfect home.
Afterwards. And I was really worried that people would be like, why is this woman like showing up on my feed talking about cleaning toilets? Like, who wants to? But the opposite happened, and what actually came to light was that there's so many people out there. Everyone has to do some form of housework, like everybody, even if you've got a cleaner or you're doing something.
You've got to make your bed.
So it was so relatable to so many people, and I think it gave people the space to actually talk about it, even though it seems like a really mundane topic. People can get quite passionate about it.
Yeah, no, I hard agree on that. And I think it is that whole thing. Again, I think we could even relate it to the maternal load and what women are trying, especially when you're on maternity leave, because it becomes your job, doesn't
Oh
it,
yeah,
when you're on
yeah.
maternity leave? No, I'm so fascinated by it. And also becoming a doula. Like my thought there was that actually so many women, I think, become doulas because of their own birth experience, whether it was positive or negative, and they want to make it better. But then it is that interesting piece about the doula role is that it's actually it's hard to do around your children and be on call.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Mm.
really hard. And like you have to be so emotionally available to somebody else
Yeah.
24 hours a day. And like even like practically whilst you're on call for those 4 weeks or however long you're on call for, you can't go more than like half an hour's drive away, or your phone's always got to be on, so you're always on, switched on. And I think when I was pregnant with my third, I was just like, I haven't got the emotional capacity
Mm.
with all these young kids to be that available to someone, which you have to be, really.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's so important because we know from having our own births, the experience is so important, and one person can really make a difference in
Mm,
either direction, can't it? Wow,
mm.
huge respect for the doula role. And so you were a business owner then, but did you ever think in a past life or pre-kids that you'd be a business owner, or especially one
Well,
of
yeah,
women organizing?
I can't work for anyone else. If I'm being perfectly honest, that's just my personality. So I grew up in a family where my mum and dad always owned businesses. They were very like, what new, but they're always on the lookout for new things.
Was that your mum
And
as well? Because we found a lot of women on this podcast. I think we've had only one so far whose mother was a business owner. So now we can add to this as well, because the rest
yeah,
has been
well,
fathers.
they went into business together. So they actually opened a chain of fish and chip shops. Like that's
Oh,
what they did.
amazing.
So they did it. I don't know how they managed to work together, run a business, and
Mm.
stay married. They're still married now. It's actually it's incredible. But yeah, so I always saw them. I worked with them in the chip shops growing up, and then I tried working for other people. I just don't like being told what to do. So
No.
I'm just much better on my own.
It is a definitely personality thing. I've got so many clients and myself. I'm like, we're unemployable now. It's just the way it works.
Exactly. No, I did try, but it's not my forte, being told what to
Mm.
do by other people.
I love that. That is such a good point. And so back to like, I briefly mentioned I'm definitely someone years ago, my husband saw a video on highly functioning anxiety. This before I had kids, and he was like, "This is you. You're a slave to your to-do list." Was this something, a personality trait of yours, the anxiety you got from cleaning after having a child and trying to keep the house perfect? Was this something that you can see was part of you before kids?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think I've always have had, and I think it will always be with me in some form. I've always been quite an anxious person, and throughout my life, I sort of joke and say that my anxiety will cling on to something, and it will be like that for a few years. That's how it will manifest itself. And when I became a mum, I spent the whole time being pregnant looking at pregnancy and motherhood through real rose tinted glasses, because that was what was being fed to me via catalogs, or that we didn't have social media really at the time. It was too long ago. But like you could walk into these shops and all the cots would be beautifully made up and everything was perfect, and I just naively thought that that's what it was going to be like. And even as much as I went to like antenatal classes, so I wasn't completely like, I knew things, but my hadn't actually filtered through to my brain. And I
Mm.
remember after I had Thomas, I got up and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, I still look pregnant. Like what's happened? Like, and then that was like the
How have
start.
I not bounced back? Yeah.
I was like, what is that?
What's
He's
my
here. What's this? Like, yeah. And like, so that was when it all started. Like this might not be how I envisaged it to be.
that old
And then
chestnut? Once he's out, I'll be myself again, kind
and
of
then
thing.
well, I spent the whole pregnancy basically living on fish and chips. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, that's where it's all gone. It's
Yes.
you know what I mean? It wasn't just the baby. Anyway, and then I got home and I'd had quite a difficult birth and everything was just, you know, it's challenging, isn't it? And the only thing that I could think of that I could control in this topsy-turvy new world was the house. I couldn't control my body. It looked completely different. I couldn't control my emotions. They were all over the place with hormones. And I couldn't control this baby. I tried. I made a spreadsheet, right? I had
The
an Excel.
baby. Oh.
I had an Excel spreadsheet trying to track Thomas's like routine. He was like days old, and I'm like, no, there has to be a routine. This is
This has to make sense. I've got so many friends who definitely relate to this. Yeah.
So I was like, so I'm gonna like color code everything. Sleeping is going to be this color, feeding is going to be this color, awake time is going to be this color, and after a week, I'll notice a correlation. There was literally no. It was like a kaleidoscope of colors. So the only thing that I could control was the house, and I thought to myself, and I kidded myself that if the house looked perfect, that everybody would assume that I was coping really well. And I sort of fell into that trap. And it was actually my health visitor who came round, and I don't know if we still do this, but like she asked me to fill out this questionnaire, like how often do you cry? How often, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's still a thing that sheet. Yeah.
Okay. So I just lied. So I'm like, fine, never cry. So she looks down this list and she's like, is this true? And I'm like, no, it's not. And I just sort of
I never cry.
and then she sort of looked around the house and she said, it's very clean in here, isn't it? I went, yeah. And then we sort of had a conversation about it, and she said to me, and I'll never forget it. She said, look, as long as you and your baby are happy, healthy, and well, literally everything else is just sprinkles on your cupcake. And I was just like, oh my God, someone had given me permission to take a step back and think to myself, this isn't healthy. This coping mechanism that I've created, it's not great. It's not the best. And it all started from then. And then I sat down at my kitchen table. I developed a way to keep the house how I wanted it in an efficient way without me having to literally spend hours doing it. And it was hard at first, like trying to unlearn habits. But yeah, it's literally stayed with me ever since. Wow. I'm still doing it now. I still follow.
It's become your job.
Yeah, the irony is that it is now my job.
You've got to find that. I mean, firstly, what an amazing health visitor to identify that with you. That's gives you such hope that these amazing health visitors are out there. But I'm even hard for that. Even my dad has been saying this for years. He had to tell my stepmom when she had my brother, you can't do like it was. So that's how I know how common this is. That there's women out there who have their babies, and whether it's, I don't know, for me, it's like my red lipstick and my career, if that's fine, I'm okay kind of thing. But house is so important because it's also you're welcoming visitors and you feel like you've got to be a bit of a host, I guess, as well.
It is. As the over the years, like obviously I've worked with lots of different people, like I've gone to houses to help people like straighten the house up and that sort of thing. And whether you are over cleaning like I was or under cleaning is a symptom of something else that's happening. Like I would say 99.9% of the time, it's just a symptom of, for me, it was a symptom of my anxiety, and I tried to cope by keeping a perfect house. For other people, it could be that they're, you know, I met a lady once who didn't, her mother-in-law had moved in next door, and she just was like, felt constantly judged. So she was over cleaning all the time to try and just maintain this like completely unrealistic standard. So yeah, so it's always a symptom, I think, of something else that's happening.
I see it. I think me and my husband, if stuff feels out of control, it's like, well, we can control the house.
Yeah, and
not with two boys running around, but
well,
in some way.
It's so important though, our house, and like linked to like the psychology of our home and stuff and everything. It is so intrinsically linked to our well-being, and I think a lot of people think, oh my gosh, it's just housework. I mean, why are we talking about housework so much? It's because it forms the basis of your living environment, maybe potentially where you're raising your family, and also maybe where you're working as well at the same time. And spend a
Especially in
lot,
these days. Yeah.
yeah, if you're working from home, you're spending a lot of time in that environment, and it has an impact. You might not even notice, and it might be a subconscious impact, but you know, it does have an impact.
No, it's so true. And you were saying, so when you had your third child, you stopped doulaing. What did that look like? You're clearly, I mean, you've done amazing things with the Organised Mum, so you're clearly a very ambitious person. How did it feel being a stay-at-home mum for a while? How long was that for?
Um, I can't actually remember. It's all like such a blur.
It's just
He's
a
9
blur.
now.
You
He's
had three
9.
kids.
Yeah. Which child is that? No, did I like being a stay-at-home mum? Yes, I did. But I could never scratch that itch. I always had that ambition to do more. Like I just always, that's just my personality. I'm just like always looking for the next thing to do. So I've always got to be pushing myself to like try something new or do something else. And I was just lucky, I suppose, that I managed to find something in like the Organised Mum that meant that I could find the holy grail, I suppose, in as much as find a job that fitted around everything else. Like, because I was still doing school pickups. I'm still doing school pickups now. Like, I feel like I will forever be doing a school pickup. I actually worked out one day, like, how many years of school pickups I'd done, and it was just the most depressing. I was just like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it was I was just lucky that I was able to meld a new business venture with being a stay-at-home mom. I mean, listen, like all businesses, it took a long time.
Yeah, because I was about to ask,
I
it's
didn't just log on
easy.
to
Yeah.
Instagram and like start earning. Like that's not, it took a
Yeah.
long time.
And I think that's it. And I think that'll be really important to ask you is like, yeah, because I think some people, have great ideas and really want to do it. And then you've got to really plug away
Yeah.
at any business idea, especially when it's like building a community online, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, newsletters, whatever it is. So what was that reality for you? How long did it take?
So the first year I was purely on Instagram, and it took me a year to get to 10,000 followers. And
Wow, that's still really quick.
yeah, it felt like forever. Like it literally felt like forever. But I didn't ever really know. I never had a strategy. Like
And were there reels around at this point?
no, we just got stories, I think. And so I'm a bad business person. I run my business intuitively. Like I don't have any strategy. I just do what feels right. That's the only way I could do it. So I never had any real strategy. I just kind of loosely thought it wouldn't be great if I could do a book. That was like in fact, my two things were I'd like to do a book and I'd like to go on This Morning. Once I've done them, then I can quit. That was like,
and you've done This Morning, haven't you?
I've done them both. Yeah, I've done them both. I've done 3 books. No, but and then I got to 10,000 followers, and then that is when things started to change, and that was when a like a book deal came out, and then that was when it all kind of started. But it took 12 months of solidly showing up every single day.
And what did that look like, especially in the early days where it felt like, all right, I've got to do this every day, show up? Because I know that's so hard for people.
Yeah, I loved it, and I still really love it now, because the way I approach it is I try and I imagine I'm talking to my sister essentially. Like that's how I visualize it in my head. Like if I'm going on and doing a reel or a story or recording a podcast or whatever, I just imagine that I'm having a chat with my sister, because I remember what I used to feel like back in the day, and I try and put the information that I kind of wish I'd known out there, if that makes sense. So it was fun. It was exciting. It was brand new. Like any other job, there's rubbish bits, there's boring bits. Like I hate anything to do with maths. Like I had to speak to my accountant earlier today, and I'm just like, oh no, can we not sort of do numbers?
You love a spreadsheet though, so I'm surprised at that.
I hate anything luckily my husband is like really good at maths, so I just default. I'm like defaults. But yeah, it was really good fun. It was just like to see how far we could take, you know, how far can I take this kind of thing, which is still, you know, a driving force now, because no one knows what the future of social media is going to be like.
No. And that, yeah, every time Instagram goes down, every email marketing person goes, time to
I
join our email
know.
list.
It took me years to get an email list, literally years. I was like, oh, I don't need one of those.
Who needs one? I know. I'm kind of reluctantly started one. I'm like, oh, how's it doing?
Yeah.
Not very well. But that is the answer to that. And so how, when in reality, so you got to 10,000 followers, what did monetizing looking at like? Because you obviously had the long goal of this morning and the books. Obviously there was loads of steps before that came to your plan and things. So what did monetizing your Instagram look like?
Okay, I'm also really bad at this. So I don't like, and very rarely will do, any ads whatsoever.
Right.
So I'm such a bad business person, because like, obviously like I must have like left quite a lot of money on the table over the years. But this is the way I look at it. I visualize lots of new mums, new parents who are in the state that I was in, right? And I don't know, it just feels quite cynical for me to be, it's really hard for me to verbalize. I feel I just don't want to be selling to them in that way, if that makes sense. I want to be providing value.
Yeah, I get that. No, I get that. Yeah.
And what I didn't want to do, I mean, I have done ads in the past, and you know, that's great, but what makes me feel uncomfortable is that I've got to really, really mean it, because what I don't want to be doing is one day saying, look at this Tupperware, whatever it is, I'm just using Tupperware as a random example, and then the next week I'm advertising a different Tupperware, you know. Because for me, back in the day when I didn't know which end was up, if someone that I, you know, trusted had said, you know, use this Tupperware, it's going to make your life easier, I'd go out and buy it. And then
Exactly.
Really get on my nerves if next week they were like, actually ignore me, this one's better. I'd have been like, so,
or you just be in such a state you just buy it all and you're just encouraging the problem.
all the Tupperware. Yeah. So if that's just one of my sort of key values, really. So in terms of monetization, it really was just the books, and then the app, and now, yeah, the app. So it's, when people kind of refer to me as a cleaning influencer, and I don't think I am, because I'm not really the traditional like influencer, if that makes sense. I'm almost
Influencers more sell thing, would do the
well,
ads.
I am selling something. I'm selling my
oh, you're
app.
selling your program. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really odd, but so I haven't monetized it as much as I could have done, is the short answer to that question. And that was just a choice that I made.
But you stuck to your values and who your audience are, and I'm sure they're more likely to buy from you because they know.
I think so. I think it's really, I think it's really important, genuinely really important to me, that people trust me. That is, I know it sounds really trite, but that is more important to me than a brand deal. Because you know, it matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. I love that. And so what app did you buy then? Like how did you, sorry, I phrased that completely wrong there. How did you go about starting the app, basically? So how did that come about? Because that wasn't clearly on your vision list at first.
No. Oh my God, what a nightmare. So I just kept getting messages from people essentially saying, this would be a really good app. And I was just like,
what do I do with that?
But I don't know how to do that. Luckily, my husband is very technical, but he'd never done anything like this before. He actually Googled how to develop an app, and then we started and we were off. Amazing. And it took him about a year. Now, I fully envisaged that the app was just going to be released and then everyone would forget about it. That's not what happened. It was possibly the most stressful day of my entire life. the app that my husband built, we were victims of our own success, essentially. I'd been hyping it up for months. I've been telling everyone, we're going to have an app, we're going to have an app. No clue what that actually meant. Cute launch day, the app just fell over. The database just couldn't cope with the amount of traffic. And it was so stressful. He was off at work.
That's really hard.
So every day we'd have to reset it. So it was like literally turn it on and off again, right? So every day he'd go off to work and I was sat at my kitchen table watching the graph of the number of, around about 7 a.m. every morning, watching the number of people logging on. It's getting more and I'm thinking it's going to crash again. Crashed. Loads of help desk tickets. I'm on the help desk. It was just me. Sorry,
and people don't understand that either. Every small business owner says this. No one gets that I'm on the end of this. It's not a team of people.
Luckily, most people were lovely. Luckily,
Good.
and I'm like, so it took us about a month, and then all of the like the money that we'd got from the sales, we took every penny and we then reinvested it and then gave it to an app development company and said, just fix it. So they just fixed it.
You deal with the app now.
So they did it. But the thing is, apps are expensive to develop. If I couldn't have afforded to have gone to an app development company initially and say, hey, I've got an idea, can you develop an app? It wouldn't have happened. The only way for it to have happened was actually the way it happened. And Mike did it. We learned lessons. He made mistakes. Then we reinvested the money and we fixed it. But that was the app origin story. And honestly, it was like how we didn't get divorced. I don't know. It was horrendous.
Well done, you. You're a resilient couple.
It was horrendous.
Does that go down as one of the worst business moments for you of the past years?
The worst. I think so. It was like people were saying to me, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. You can see that lots of people want it. But I, again, was focusing on I want people to trust me. I don't want them to think that I've created a really bad product. I need to fix this. I need to fix it. And the worst thing was I felt completely powerless because I didn't know how to do it. This wasn't my skill set. I was trusting other people to do it for me. So that was really hard. And the feeling of dread of logging on every day and seeing countless help desk tickets. And just like, oh, that's a reminder how badly I'm doing my job. Do you know what I mean? So I went overnight.
When's this going to end?
Overnight,
that's it as well. You can look back and be like, oh, we did this and it worked. But in the moment, you're like, how we're going to fix this?
When you're in it, it's really hard, especially when you're so emotionally attached to your business and it's part of your story, it's part of your identity and who you are. When something's going wrong, it's really hard to detach yourself from that. I'm much better at it now. I'm much better at saying, right, this is a problem in my business. I am working hard to fix it. But at the time, my head was spinning and I was just, it was the dark days, I would say.
I think any business owner can relate to that, though. It's a process you have to go through to that. This happens to everyone in some form, and you've got to learn how to be like, okay, this is a problem. I've now got to switch off from it while I go pick up my kids or do mommy time in the evening kind of thing, which I think is so hard to do.
Yeah, 100%. It's like it's very hard to find that off switch. Very difficult.
Yeah. And in having a social media profile like yours and things, has there ever been anything like people say anything, and have you had to learn to grow a thicker skin online as well?
Like it's not the worst thing. It's one of the worst things because you never know what's coming. The way I liken it is if you're in an office and someone's got something bad to say about you, they usually say it so that you can't hear. But they what I do, people like to tell me to my face, or not to my face, but like in a message, in a DM, and you never know when that's gonna come. So you could be pushing along, thinking you're having a really good day, just check your phone, and then all of a sudden Marjorie's telling you XYZ, and you're just like, oh, okay, fine. So over the years, I've really had to harden up and learn strategies about how to not let that affect you, because otherwise you will just stop. You'll stop what you're doing. And it's, whether it's someone, a colleague at work, or someone telling you something bad doesn't necessarily mean they're telling you the truth. It might not be right, especially when
if
it's
there's no photo to their Instagram profile or something
no,
like that.
Online hate, someone comes to me with genuine criticism, absolutely, thank you, 100%, take it on board, because that's what any professional business owner would do. But if someone's just coming at you like just spouting stuff that you're just like, okay, this is nonsensical, it's hard not to bite back, and it's hard not to let that bruise your self-esteem. So yeah, that's been a massive learning curve. And it was around about, and I've seen this pattern as well with other people who are on social media. You get to around about 30,000 followers, that's when it starts. It's almost like a line in the sand. It's very weird. I don't know why it's around about that, but that's when it starts, and it's really odd.
That's really odd. So anyone out there who grow up to 29,000 and then
yeah, just it's not. It's just like, it's almost like a rite of passage that you have to go through.
Wow, it's
Really
are there like communities for you guys to get help, to chat about this? That's a great idea.
I often say there should be, but no, there isn't. There's not like an underground
WhatsApp group
or WhatsApp group. No, there's nothing like that.
There's normally WhatsApp groups for everything.
Bubble, but no, it doesn't exist.
Maybe that's your next
That
creation.
is a business idea. Someone needs to set that up. Anyone listening, set up a community support group.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'm sorry you've had to deal with it like that. It's just like at the end of the day, your job is just different, and you have to have this online profile for it. And it's so weird how people can't. There's strange people out there, I guess, is like the only thing we can say. So it's just the dark side of the business that you have to grow that thick skin, sadly.
100%, yeah.
How has your time looked like over the years? Like, were you ever just part-time and then go to full-time? How have you managed your time, and what has help look like growing your business?
So it's always been pretty much a full-time. Like, this is the reality. A 20-second or 15-second TikTok or reel can take me 2 hours to make. It's the most frustrating process. Like, you just want to get a message across. Okay, it would be so nice for me just to sit down and just say a sentence, and like my job would be so easy. But because you're competing with the noise and everything on social media, you've got to be pushing your message out in a very precise way. So a 15-second TikTok or a reel will take me 2 or 3 hours to do. It is a very full-time job, and it's at the weekends and it's in the evenings. So I wouldn't even want to guess how many hours I work in a week. It's a lot. It sometimes feels like it's all the time. And when I first started it, I was obviously had a baby, and it was what I could, basically as much as I could do in the time that I had. That was the reality. We just hit the ground running hard, because I knew the hard reality of this and setting up any business. You can't play at it. You're either doing it or you're not.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got to go, especially if you're in an industry where you're competing with a lot of people and there's a lot of noise and you're trying to make yourself stand out. Over the years, I've become more proficient in my strategies, and I'm just getting better at my job. So things take me less time, and now I can now afford to employ people. So I employ 3 women to help me run things like the help desk, the Facebook community, and I can afford to outsource things like graphic design and that sort of stuff. But at first it was literally me sat in front of Canva. Just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Hard relate. I think
That
many
looks
of us
about
relate to
right.
that.
But the way
I'm
I
so non-designy, and I'm like, yeah, that's lined up. Yeah.
yeah, I know. Like, so I look back at some of my old designs, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. But the way I look at it is, if I can free up, if I can free up an hour of my time, and I can pay a graphic designer, I don't know, what say £30, like a pluck a number like £30 for an hour, and they can create me, because they're proficient in this, and they can create me so many posts. I can use that hour and I can do something that I'm proficient in, and I can probably earn that £30 back and more. So
Oh, definitely.
so that's kind of how I justify it to myself.
Oh, I'm running a virtual assistant agency. I'm all for that.
Yeah, so like, you know, that's 100%, like, find your skills, right? Know where you what you're good at, and lean into that. I'm no good at maths. I can waste hours trying to do my accounts, so I give them to someone else, gladly, so I can focus on what my skills are and what my strong points are.
But yeah, I mean, that's the best case scenario. And I always think it's harder when you're there, say, spending 3 hours on a reel, and you're like, I really should be making money another way. Like, because like that reel in isolation isn't going to get you money, is it?
No.
In just isolation. And that's how it can feel sometimes, especially if you never know how they're going to do. Have you ever had support on your social media strategy, or literally just learned it by doing it over the years?
I learned it as I went along. The biggest, I have spoken to people, and I have tried to work with people. The biggest tip here is just don't overcomplicate it. Don't overcomplicate social media, because there are a lot of people out there like that are trying to overcomplicate the process. So you have to be quite choosy about what strategies will work for you, because you can spend a lot of money that might not have a much return on investment. So my biggest tip with social media is just do what feels natural to you, because especially if you are like the personality behind your brand, that has to come through. And sometimes the more people that you have helping, that becomes diluted, and it all just gets a little bit bland, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
So yeah.
definitely. I think that's really helpful advice for anyone. And so how many, you got your book deals, and how many books have you got now? Three?
Three. Just counted three. They're up there. Three.
You're like three, yeah. Any more on the horizon or coming up for you, or plans for that?
No. So the books are forever like my little Bibles that I will tell people to go and read. Everything is now future work is on the app, is with the app, and the guided cleaning sessions that I again created without much strategy and kind of on the fly, because I intuitively felt like this was a thing that people needed. So now all of my energy is going into these guided cleaning sessions, because I could see that people were spending hours watching me clean, or cleaning, just general cleaning, YouTube, whatever. And I was doing one-to-ones with people. I was thinking, the amount of time we spent an hour here talking about cleaning, we could have the cleaning could already be done. So how can I combine?
That's your like productive nature. You're like, we could have just done this.
we need to think of a better way of doing this. This is really inefficient. So I thought, how can I combine that motivation that people are seeking from watching cleaning videos with actually getting it done? And I put a guided cleaning session out, again thinking it would just flop, and it didn't. So I would just talk people through it. So it's like maybe it's like 30 minutes, they're all different lengths, but say you pick a 30-minute session and it's a 30-minute living room cleaning session, it's very structured. So it's like, for 5 minutes we're going to do tidying, 5 minutes go, and it's all set to music, and I would like keep them on time, and that's it's a bit like Couch to 5K.
I feel like it's like guided meditation as well, because I do guided meditation on like Insight Timer and stuff. So I feel like it's that basically.
Yeah, and it has just massively taken off. And yeah, so that's where I spend most of my time, up in this room in my attic, just encouraging people to clean to music, and like, right, come on, we've done the tidying, now dust the coffee table or something like that. And it's incredible really how popular it is.
I can imagine, honestly. And the first time I ever discovered you, by the way, it was because a colleague of mine had Tom in their calendar. And I was like, what is this Tom? I
Who
looked
is
you
this
up.
man that this person is seeing all the time?
At 8 a.m. Because I could tell where it was written. I was like, this is something I need to look into. This is how nosy I am. And that's how I discovered you. I was like, this is genius. You know, and I during the pandemic, did you have such a lift in business as well? Because people were just trying to keep control.
Yeah, that was crazy times. Like it's all a bit of a blur, I think, that time. I think for most of us it is. Like we decided to move house and renovate a house. Like it was just like so not a good idea at the time. But yeah, the business just sort of went like this because people were having to juggle working from home. All of a sudden more people were in the home, more people were making more mess. So like previously doing the school run or dropping the kiddies off at the childminder, then going into the office, and then the house potentially stayed empty all day and just remained static and nothing was getting messier. Now no one's going anywhere, everything's just getting messier. We've got sourdough on the side, someone else is making banana bread, someone else is doing a TikTok dance over there, and it's just like it was just a pressure cooker of stress for so many people, and they was trying to reaching out for something, and for a lot of people that turned out to be Tom. It sort of clung onto it as a bit of a life raft really. And also people who had cleaners suddenly had no cleaners.
Yes, yeah.
And it was just like, what are we supposed to do now? Like what is,
Clean.
you know, what is this? Yeah.
I love that. And oh, it's been such a joy listening to your journey and hearing about it and just learning more about Tom as well, because you just can't believe, like, it makes complete sense that guided cleaning as well. That just sounds such an incredible thing you're doing. And also, love, more importantly, your message is about like it not being your life, but being something that fits into your life and that is good enough for everyone each day. And I think that's the most important part. And for someone, because it is definitely a habit as well, I can imagine. I'm big on habits because and habit stacking and things and getting into this cleaning habit every day so then you don't have to spend hours at the weekend doing it, things like that. What do you say to people who've started up your habit or any habit of cleaning, let's say, and they're following your plan, but they've had a bad day or they're sick and it leads to a few more and they're just like, oh, I can't pick this up again. How do you approach customers from that perspective and or people who need your help like that?
It's for me, it's about doing something, even if it's something really tiny, to maintain that habit, even if it's just 5 minutes, so that it stays in the forefront of your mind. If you say to yourself, right, if I can't do 30 minutes of Tom today, then I'm not even going to bother. If I can't do it perfectly, I'm not even going to try. Like that's the wrong attitude. If you want to maintain or create a habit, you need to knock that attitude on the head immediately, and you'd be like, right, I'm just going to do 5 minutes of Tom. I'm just going to pick the job that needs doing the most, and then over time it becomes habitual and it becomes second nature and on autopilot. And things like habit stacking are a really good thing to do. Like if you, which is why the guided sessions work, because for some people the thought of actually doing it is so much worse than actually doing it, if that makes sense.
And then the procrastination comes the issue.
And I always think of like the brain as like a stovetop, and you've got all of these things cooking at the same time. You've got your relationships, you've got parenthood, you've got your business, and you're cleaning, and like you might keep pushing cleaning to the back, but one day it's just going to boil over. So it's about sort of regularly stirring all those little pots, even if it's just little bits of incremental cleaning, just to stay in the habit. One day here or there is fine, but when you feel it really starting to slip, because then you then sort of you turn it into proactive cleaning, where you are essentially staying one step ahead. So once you stop cleaning reactively, which is stressful, you're kind of like, okay, this needs doing and this needs doing, and I need to fold the laundry. You're reacting to a problem. But if you switch it to actually being proactive, like today, I'm going to do that before it gets too bad, it's very empowering, and it really helps just to lift that pressure of that overwhelm. So my biggest tip is, doesn't matter if you can't do it perfectly, doesn't matter if you've only got 5 minutes, just do something.
I love that. Thank you, Gemma. It's really made me like think differently about the cleaning side of it versus, you know, it's like if you're trying to put a new workout in and people overcommit to the gym, and it's like, well, you don't need to go to the gym 3 times a week. I mean, if you're a mum, just doing it once or a couple of times a day, doing something. And I think that's so true. And so where can people find you and the app, Gemma?
So I'm on most social media channels as the Organised Mum, and if they just want to go to the organisedmum.com, like literally everything is there, and we've got free printouts and stuff. If they want to give it a go, you don't have to commit to anything, you just get a free printout sent to your email, and if you think, oh yeah, I quite like this and I'd like to be able to customize it, then you can move on to the app if you want to.
Oh, well, Gemma, thank you so much. And I can't wait to hear more about you and find out more that's going on as you grow the Organised Mum and your app. And I'm going to try some of the guided cleaning myself. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for listening to Bump to Business Owner. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please do rate, review, follow, or subscribe wherever you're listening. It really helps us to connect with more mums and business owners. You can DM me on @BumpToBusinessOwner on Instagram, and I'll be back next week.